Going on, everybody? It's Key Time coming back with another one to talk about the NBA playoff game ones from this weekend. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, this game throughout the first half was a little, I'm going to say, uninspiring. Both teams were lackadaisical. Not to take away from Orlando, they are inexperienced. This is the first time that with this group, the first time that they've been in in the playoffs. So what I seen from the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers game is it was a bunch of shooting droughts where for about 8-9 minutes in the second quarter, the Cavaliers only had 2 points in that quarter for about an 8 or 9 minute stretch. And then you have the Orlando Magic who were trying to find some type of rhythm on the offensive side of the court, and they couldn't find any rhythm. And as far as the Orlando Magic, most of their guys are new to this. So you can't expect much from an inexperienced squad playing their first playoff game. But from what I seen from Pablo Banchero, he scored 24 points, and Franz Wagner scored 18 points. Everybody, three players of the first in the starting lineup scored at least 15 points or more. Now, as far as the bench concerned, they are gonna need some help. Now, I'm gonna get to the Cleveland Cavaliers later, but the Orlando Magic, for this to be a longer series, the team they have to have the supporting cast outside of their top three players put up points. Because when you take the starters out of the game for a good 3 to 5 minute stretch, that's where the bench players come in and produce. Now, in this game, they did not produce. Obviously, they failed to show up because Orlando had a chance to get this game close within the fourth quarter. They were down as many as 15, and in the fourth quarter they got it all the way down to 7-8 points. But then after they got it down to about 7 or 8 points, here come the Cavaliers making a timely shot or getting to the free throw line. So for the Magic and Cavaliers, this is going to be an interesting series. This series may go 7, but either way, I'm rolling with the Cavs, and I don't take too much away from game ones. This is going to be a show where you cannot take too much away from game ones. You can't take too much away from game to game. One game doesn't change the whole series, and one loss in a 7-game series doesn't change the whole series. It's what you do throughout the series, and it's what you do throughout the series that can change the dynamic of a playoff series. So, and that is the first game for the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the second game I want to talk about is the Phoenix Suns and Minnesota Timberwolves. What has played the Phoenix Suns all throughout the season? Defense. The Phoenix Suns defense and bench scoring. Now, the bench, they only had 8 points in this game. 8 points. 8 bench points in this game, and Minnesota had 22. So we already know that the Phoenix Suns are lacking bench production and they are lacking defense. That's why I've been saying throughout the entirety of this season that the Phoenix Suns, their starting lineup almost has to play perfect. Because when you go to their bench, outside of Grayson Allen, one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA this season, they don't have much to show for for as far as bench production concerned. They don't. Now we all saw that Kevin Durant, he had 31 points. Grayson Allen had 4 points. Devin Booker only had 18 points. And Yusef Nurkic, he had 9. And the bench was non-existent. Now, as far as the Timberwolves, they had game 1 at home. They came into game 1 so loose, and they came in and showed out. Anthony Edwards had 33 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 19 points. So, you got your 2 top dogs as far as the Minnesota Timberwolves giving you, well, Karl Anthony Towns, that's pretty much an average game, 19 points for him. But Anthony Edwards, he just straight up took it to the Phoenix Suns. I mean, first quarter, they up by 10, and it's not even 5 minutes into the game. They being up by 10. This game was a blowout too. I forgot to say about that. This game was a blowout because this game, when you don't have a great bench and when you are struggling on defense like the Phoenix Suns have been throughout the season, and 3 of your first 5 players are having a good game but don't have bench production, you are going to lose a game like this. This game got up to Minnesota Timberwolves led by as many as 25, and they ended up winning by 25. So what do the Phoenix Suns have to do to win game 2? I don't have them winning. I already told everybody I don't have them winning the series. But for the Phoenix Suns to even be remotely close in game 2, they have got to neutralize Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Not to mention that as far as they also have to keep track of those bench players on the Minnesota Timberwolves bench, because somebody can come off the bench and give you 10 to 15 points out of the blue. So that's all I see with the Suns and Timberwolves series. The next series I want to talk about is the Philadelphia 76ers and New York Knicks. So we all know that Joel Embiid is suffering an injury. He's only 3-4 weeks removed from that injury. But I want to talk about the New York Knicks. Now, the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, he had a good game. Josh Hart had a good game. And there's a stat that I found out. The New York Knicks had 26 offensive rebounds, and they had 23 second chance points off of those 26 offensive rebounds. So that's where the New York Knicks won the game as far as offensive rebounding, because when Embiid went out, obviously height advantage goes to the New York Knicks. While Embiid is in there, height advantage 76ers. But like I've been saying, Joel Embiid, he's not even 75%. And what I see from the New York Knicks with the efficient shooting that they have had, well, that they displayed Saturday in Saturday's game 1 win, I believe that will be displayed throughout this series. So as far as the Philadelphia 76ers, if Joel Embiid, if he can't give it a go, or if he is going to give it a go, at best he'll probably be 35 to about 50%, because he is nowhere near 75%, because we saw how he went up for a rebound and somebody came down on his leg and he was out for a few minutes in the game on Saturday. So as far as the Philadelphia 76ers, they are going to have a really breakout game from most of their players like Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Nicholas Batum. He might need to give another 20-25 point game like he did versus the Miami Heat. But all in all, I see the New York Knicks. New York Knicks is up 1-0 in this series. I predicted the New York Knicks to win this. So without him, if Embiid, we already know Embiid is hurt, but if he cannot display a full 48-minute game, now obviously he's not going to play the entire 48 minutes, but with the 70s, with Embiid being out there on the court, it would give the 76ers an advantage as far as height. And plus, with Embiid being out there on the court, the New York Knicks, they won't have a free alleyway to the basket, because without Embiid out there, the New York Knicks, they will just have a free alleyway to the basket. And what else can the 76ers do? Because only thing that they'll do is they'll foul. They can only foul the New York Knicks when it comes to going to the basket. So that's what I see in that series. The next series I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Lakers and Denver Nuggets. Now, this game right here, I looked at the entirety of this game. The Lakers came out, first and second quarter came out up by and they were up by 12 at one point in the first half. And then all of a sudden, I've been saying this throughout the season, what will hurt the Lakers is turnovers and defensive lapses, and that's exactly what they had, because with 7 minutes left in the second quarter and being up, the Lakers, they were up by 12. And they had the ball. They came down the floor and they turned the ball over, and Denver went down and scored. So that's 10. And within about a few minutes, it was back down to a 4-point game. Then the game was tied before halftime. But LeBron made a deep three, and they were up by 3 points at halftime. And I said to myself, I'm like, the Lakers done messed up, because you were up by 12. You should have been up by at least 15, 18, or even 20 points at halftime, not 3. But when you seen them come out of halftime, they had the lead in the third quarter, and then all of a sudden it happened again. Defensive lapses, turnovers, and all of a sudden, the Denver Nuggets, they had the lead, and they did not relinquish the lead at that. They did not relinquish the lead. So one thing I can say is LeBron, he had a good game, 27 points. Rui Hachimura, he only had 4 shots. That he got to get some more shots. Anthony Davis, he had a good game. He had 32 points. D'Angelo Russell, only thing I can say about D'Angelo Russell is it looked like he had bricks on his hands during the game, because he was 1 of 9 from the 3-point line. And it was a lot of times where I was looking at him throughout the game, I was saying, don't shoot another 3. Go to the free throw line. Don't shoot another 3. Get inside. Go down low. 1 of 9. Let's say he was 1 of 9. If he could be 6, maybe 7 or 9, the Lakers probably win this game. And also, Austin Reeves, he had a tough game. Wasn't able to get his shots to go in the basket. He finished with 13 points, along with D'Angelo Russell. So as of now, like I've been saying, what is going to hurt the Lakers in this series is turnovers and defensive lapses, because when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, if you do everything right, if you have a great possession, a great 4 or 5 minute time frame, they still gonna make you pay. And even if you do something wrong, they still gonna make you pay. So you almost got to play perfect against the Denver Nuggets to even win a game in this series, let alone win the series. But you got to win a game in this series for it to even be a series. So that's all I see from Los Angeles Lakers. The Denver Nuggets, what can I say? Everybody from the Denver Nuggets, they had at least 12 points. And I'm going to go down the list. Michael Porter Jr., he had 19 points. Aaron Gordon had 12 points. Nikola Jokic, he had 32. Jamal Murray, 22. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had 12. So everybody was balanced, had balanced amount of scoring on the Denver Nuggets. Who is going to be able to stop the Denver Nuggets? I believe that only way the Denver Nuggets do not make the Western Conference Finals is if they beat themselves. And it's hard to beat yourself when you have a great team and everybody knows their role. Everybody knows their role with the Denver Nuggets. So you don't have too many player problems or player grumblings coming out of Denver. So that's all I got to say about the Lakers Nuggets series. Now, the next series I want to talk about is Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. Game 1 was yesterday. I was able to see the entirety of that game too. First, the Boston Celtics came out and were up by 15, 17-2. So I knew that this was going to be a blowout. I knew that the Heat would be able to, I would say the Heat would be able to weather the storm, but I'm just going to say that this series, the Boston Celtics, they should not lose this series. I'm gonna use a phrase. Everybody knows this phrase, whether you're young or old. Everybody knows this phrase. Don't play with your food. Don't mess around and play with your food now. In other words, with the Boston Celtics, don't mess around and blow this sure thing that you have. Now, everybody's projecting you to win this game. You are the better team. You don't have injuries on your team right now. Everybody is healthy. And the Miami Heat, they have 2 of their 3 starters out. I know for at least the next game. And we don't know if Jimmy Butler is coming back. So the Boston Celtics, do not mess around with this series. Get this series ended in 4. Get this series over quickly, because you do not want to mess around and let the Miami Heat win 1 or 2 games, and then all of a sudden you got a series on your hands. If they could do what they did yesterday 3 more times, they will win this series, because Miami, they don't have enough scoring to keep pace with the Boston Celtics. They really don't. Now, as far as Boston Celtics yesterday, the starters, they really played good ball. They really didn't need them in the 4th quarter because the game was firmly in hand. But Jason Tatum had 23 points. Jaylen Brown had 17 points. Kristaps Porzingis had 18 points. And also, the Boston Celtics made history yesterday. Everybody that played for the Boston Celtics yesterday made at least 1 3-pointer. And that's the first time ever in NBA history that a team in the playoffs has had every player that comes into the game and make at least one 3-pointer. So, what can the Miami Heat do to even remotely keep the game close and possibly win in game 2? I don't think that Miami is going to win a game in this series. I had said the Celtics in 7, but from what I seen yesterday, it's Celtics in 4. The only thing that is going to hurt the Boston Celtics is inept defensive play and shot selection. Those two things will hurt the Boston Celtics. If they keep playing the way they playing, they'll be able to breeze through the Eastern Conference, get to the championship, and win the championship. But they don't need to get 3-point happy, and they got to emphasize defense. They do. So that's all I have for the Miami Heat Boston Celtics series. The next series I want to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks and LA Clippers. Now, as far as this game, I also watched this game in its entirety. I noticed the Dallas Mavericks, they were struggling. They only generated 30 points at halftime. I was like, man, 30 points? And the Clippers had almost 60 at halftime. So, for the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, we all know that they are the driving force. That is what makes the Dallas Mavericks go. Now, it's time for those guys that are on the bench to step up. You got to step up, because all the attention is on Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving throughout this series. Now, I'm going to tell you that it was just lackluster scoring from the Mavs all throughout. I'm going to tell you who scored for the Dallas Mavericks. PJ Washington, 11 points. Derrick Jones, 0 points. Daniel Gafford, 3 points. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, 33 and 31 points. Max Kellerman, 3 points. Derek Levy, 3 points. Dante Exum, 3 points. Tim Hardaway Jr., 6 points. Josh Green, 4 points. The bench was non-existent. Bench points, that was only 8. They only had 8 bench points. Now, as far as that, the Clippers, now we all know that Kawhi Leonard, he wasn't able to play yesterday because of soreness. But Paul George and James Harden, they came up, and also Russell Westbrook, they came through. Paul George had 22 points. James Harden had 28 points, and Russell Westbrook had 13 points, and those three were the driving force. But I noticed something in this game. The Clippers, they started getting 3-point happy, and the Clippers led by as many as 29, and the Mavericks, they cut into that lead and got it all the way down to 12 with under 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, like I said after the game yesterday, Dallas Mavericks bench and defense needs to improve. The supporting cast, all in all, the supporting cast for the Dallas Mavericks needs to improve for them to have a chance at winning this series. Now, game 2, I know it's going to be something different. Dallas is going to throw something different at LA. Now, Tyronn Lue, he is one of the best schematic coaches when it comes to developing a game plan for the playoffs, game after game after game. So we will see what the Dallas Mavericks and LA Clippers do Game 2 is tomorrow. So the next series I want to talk about is the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks. Now, we all know that Giannis Antetokounmpo, he didn't play this game. Damian Lillard basically took over this game from the opening tip. He had 35 points in the first half. 35 points in the first half. He finished with 35 points. So now, and another thing, with the Bucks last night, it wasn't so much of their defense, because basically both of these teams, they've struggled on defense. Reason why the Bucks won this game last night is because of the Indiana Pacers. They weren't able to run their usual style of offense, and plus in the first quarter, I noticed that this was going to potentially get out of hand. I mean, I looked at the game, and early in the third quarter, the Milwaukee Bucks, they were leading by 31. So this was a complete and utter beatdown that really, it wasn't even that close. Even though the Bucks won by 15, it wasn't even that close, because the ineptitude that the Pacers have on defense is just straight putrid. Because in the playoffs, you got to be able to stop somebody. You got to be able to stop somebody, and you have got to be able to put up points. Which the Indiana Pacers, they are the best offense in the NBA. But it didn't look like it last night, because only reason why it didn't look like that is because the Pacers, they were missing shots. They were missing layups. Even when they didn't get to the free throw line as much in this game. They only got to the free throw line 21 times. They usually get to the free throw line like 25 to 30 times. But when it comes to the playoffs, that's why I say the regular season is different from the playoffs. In the playoffs, you already know who you're playing, and it's just a matter of can you stop what they do best? That's what it is. Now, as far as the Indiana Pacers, I believe that this is game ones are just a fill-out game. This was just a fill-out game for the Indiana Pacers. Now, since they know what type of playoff atmosphere that they are dealing with, they should be able to come out and give a much better performance in game 2. So that's all I have for the Pacers-Bucks series. The next series I want to talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans and Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, this was a good game too. OKC, they should have won this game going away. But OKC, they were up by 10 late in the game and lost the lead and then regained it back. But as far as the New Orleans Pelicans, both of their top 3 players now. I'm going to remind everybody, Zion Williamson didn't play this game. So I'm talking about Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. They didn't have good shooting nights. With Brandon Ingram, he finished with 12 points. With CJ McCollum, he finished with his regular 20 to 25 points. But as far as he didn't have a good shooting night. And plus, as far as free throws, they were 7-9. Free throws for OKC, 10 or 13. Okay. Now, as far as Offensive rebounds. New Orleans had more offensive rebounds than OKC did. But defensive rebounds, OKC had more than New Orleans. Turnovers, they were about the same. And as far as points in the paint, OKC edged them out. But it was it was a situation late in the game where the New Orleans Pelicans could have tied this game, or who knows, they probably could have won this game. But they were down by 2 with under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I'm saying to myself, okay, drive to the basket, get fouled, and go shoot the free throw. But Brandon Ingram, he took the ball, took a 17-foot jump shot, and it hit back iron. And after that, New Orleans did not get another chance at the ball, because in cases like that, you want to get the best shot that you can. I think that if Brandon Ingram would have got the ball, went to the basket, got fouled, and got the free throw, we'd be having a whole other different headline coming out of this series after game 1. But the Thunder, they did what they were supposed to do. They protected home. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he had a good game. Jalen Williams had 19 points. Chet Holmgren had 15 points along with Lucent Dort, who had 6 points. So everybody on the OKC Thunder, they did what they were supposed to do. They protected home court. Game 2 is tomorrow, and we are going to see if the New Orleans Pelicans can bounce back in game 2. And with that, those are my reactions from this past weekend's game 1s of the 2024 NBA playoffs. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell to get notified of all of my shows, content, reaction videos, and etc. And remember, I always say this, my last thing of the day. Always remember, the key is always on time.